Three, two, one. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another exciting film journey here on Delusions of Grandeur. I am one of your hosts, and today we are continuing our Halloween film journey here.
Halloween
Kroll,
horror.
you chose a uh, delightful film here. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the film? In fact, it's kind of a film and kind of a mini series because it's been called a little of both.
Well, it's technically a miniseries that was based on a novel by Stephen King. It's now you can watch it in its entirety at once with no breaks and doesn't even feel like it. So it's basically been turned into a movie. It's just a 3-hour movie, which is really not that long these days. But yeah, so the movie is Salem's Lot, and not that new version that's coming out this year that I just saw a trailer for, and I no longer want to see it. Uh, they want
And
blue chunks
it's
again, just like the
definitely
last
not the
remake.
2004.
Yeah, the other
Yeah,
remake sucked, no pun intended. And this one looks like it's gonna suck too. So yeah, that. Why don't
no,
if I don't mind them reimagining things, but why do they have to make it shitty? Why do they have to make it like every other vampire movie out there? I like the other vampire movies. Leave Sounds Lot the way the freaking it is. If you want to redo it right. Otherwise, leave it alone. Anyways, that's
yeah,
my
these
complaint for
remakes
today.
make the sequel look better.
Mm,
These remakes make the sequel
Yeah,
look
you're
better.
right. I don't know about the new one, but the Lost Sauce sequel, yeah, the sequel was horrid. But you're right, the remake was so bad. All right, so IMDb says a novelist and a young horror fan attempt to save a small New England town which had been invaded by vampires. Short, but I guess correct.
Okay.
So yeah, and this
And it's
stars
it's
David.
directed by Tobe Hooper.
Yeah, and it stars David Soul and a bunch of other people, and I'm trying to find where it says who it stars. Wow, why does it not say who it stars? That's why I don't like using IMDb. 1 second. Sorry about that. I think what is it? Bonnie Modell is also in it. Fred Willard. This is just going off the top of my head.
Well,
Um,
and Jeffrey Lewis. That would be Juliette Lewis's father is in here as
yeah.
well. But we
He doesn't
were
have a.
sort of watching the journey.
What was that?
We were watching the journey to the center. I think we were watching Journey to the Center of the Earth, and the old guy who played the antique dealer looks like he was in the Journey to the Center of the Earth. James Mason.
Yeah. Lance Kerwin. Bonnie Bedella.
Oh, and he was in the original
Ronnie
Cyrano de
Preisner.
Bergerac.
Reggie Nolder. Clarissa Cave. Julie Cobb. Brad Savage. Yeah. So it had a good cast. But anyways, so let's first do our first impressions of the movie. Tammy, what did you think of Salem's Lot?
I thought it was pretty good. I like vampire movies. It's been a long time since I've watched this one. You know, I own it, of course, and because I love Stephen King stuff. But I don't remember the last time I watched it. So, in a way, it was kind of like rewatching it again because I really didn't remember hardly anything from the last
I
time.
remember, I remember I saw it again about 5 years ago. For some reason, I always remember three scenes the most, and one of the scenes they actually recreated three times.
I
and
remember the house.
yeah, I only remember the one time, but the second time is the one I remember. When the boy's floating outside the window. The first the little brother, and then of course Gay did it too. But for some reason, I only remember him visiting him in the hospital, and that's the memory I have the most of, and the one that gives me freaking goosebumps every time I have the memory. It's the only
I remember
movie
the
that
house, and
scares me.
I remember the house, and I remember the first time the little brother came to the window.
Yeah, it
But
freaked me out as a kid. Still freaks me out.
other than that, I didn't really remember a whole lot. But I enjoyed watching it again.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, someone was saying that it's kind of slow in places, and I guess I see that now. But I don't know. It just build. I think it builds the story. It builds suspense. It's Stephen King. Stephen King does that. His books are not small. And yeah, they could have made a movie shorter, but they were going more towards what the book had. And although I haven't read the Sounds Law book itself, I'm sure they could have added more to the movie, and they did do it but I'm sure they did the book justice. And I know Stephen King never had any complaints about the movie, so yeah, I absolutely love it. It's my favorite. It's my favorite horror movie
I
of
think it
all
was a
time.
little slow at times, but I think at the time when they made longer movies at this time, they weren't thinking about the way they do things now. So if you
And plus, it was a miniseries, so
if you
people had
get
to
what
wait an entire week to see the second half.
if you get what I mean, a 3 hour movie nowadays a lot of times doesn't have the slowness in it compared to back then. You know,
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, and I think it's funny. I think it's funny that Halloween, the movie Halloween, was done the year before, and there's a moment where one of the vampires, I think it's Jeffrey Lewis's character, ends up falling out the window and then vanishing.
Yeah,
So I swear they took that moment from Halloween. You
doubt
know,
it. It's probably in the book.
well, the way that they did it was exactly how Michael Myers disappeared sometimes.
Well,
So,
the thing is,
uh,
the other Halloween movie came out a year before, but obviously they were already in production. They could have already done that. They probably already did that scene because they were in post production by that point. So yeah, it's just they happen to have the same vision. Happens. It's a cool scene. Yeah, that was when
other
that was when
other than
Mike
that,
the that was when Mike the Gravedigger fell out the window.
yeah,
That
that's what
scene.
he
I
looked
said.
freaky. He looked freaky with those little
And Dave,
little
what's
eyes.
your was this your first time watching Sounds Lot?
No, it wasn't my first time. It was my, I believe, second time because
Really?
I, yeah, not not to because I picked it up and watched it with Tammy the first time I think, and then I haven't watched it since. But
Really?
I'd seen bits and pieces of it on like USA Network and TNT, so I remembered bits and pieces like the floating to the window and whatnot. But watching it again today is like watching it again for me too, because I didn't remember much beyond the floating window pieces. And once I resaw some of the pieces, I started to remember as as the film progressed. And once it got towards the ending, then I remembered, oh yeah, it was her, you know. But um, I think this one kind of fascinates me a little bit because it's the first vampire one that went straight for the children first. And one of the things you don't do on screen, especially in that time, is kill a kid on screen or whatnot, you know.
First thing
And
they did.
I think they well, they didn't exactly kill them on screen. They killed them, which is kind of like getting away with murder on screen. But um, it's different that that they went for the kids first, you know, because they're the weakest. They're the weakest links, and then it went to the grave dude, and then it went. Somehow his friend ended up. Oh yeah, that's right, because he was sitting in a jail cell later on. Is why he got it, but they didn't show that. But even so, this is a mini series. It showed a lot, so I don't think they really needed to show the jail scene. But it would have been cool if they would have done like showed all of the kills. Some of the kills were done off screen, you know.
Yeah.
But
I
and
mean,
the first child, okay, the first, okay, the when the brother came to bite get the brother when he floated up, the first thing I thought is they didn't show him bite him. You know, I wish they would have at least shown the kid bite the brother.
yeah. Well, with the second scene when he got him to the hospital, they actually saw him open his mouth up and go down to his neck. So I mean, they got closer the second time.
Yeah, they did, but I wish they would have done it the first time. You know what I mean? I don't care about the fact that we didn't see the brother get bitten or anything like that. That they could have kept, but I would have at least wanted to see him get bitten. And the second thing I would have wanted is I would have wanted to have seen the blood.
Well, this
I
was
would have
done in
wanted to see the
'79,
blood,
so
and we didn't see blood. Yep, I get it. I understand that. Those are my grips with the film, but that doesn't mean that it's not a good film. The house looks creepy. It looks creepy on the inside. The antique dealer is creepy, and it's got that whole like small town.
Mr.
Everybody
Striker.
knows everything about everybody kind of vibe, and it's a great sleepy town, you know. So I love
And
that
one thing
aspect.
I was thinking, why is it that the vampires go for a small town? You would think they would go for a big city where when people disappear, they don't even notice in a big city, you know, unless it's someone big, you know what I'm saying? But in a small town, everyone gets noticed missing. You know, it's not common for it to happen in a small town. So I would think that they would rather go to a big city where it's less noticeable than when someone disappears.
Have you ever noticed how most of Stephen King's main characters are writers?
Oh yeah. Well,
Most
he's
of
a
the
writer,
time.
so makes sense. And he also loves
Oh, I know,
he loves
but
the whole evil house routine as well. he definitely he definitely loves that as well. So you guys, is that it for your
trying
first
to
impression?
remember. I
Is that
enjoyed
it?
it the second time around. I mean, it is kind of corny, a little bit, like from the first time, but you're gonna have a little bit of corn with it.
I don't know where you get corny from, but okay.
Just the fact that the floating, you can almost tell now that they're actually being lifted on like some kind of ropes or whatnot. But the first time I
Well,
saw it,
naturally, kids don't
I
really
remember
fly.
thinking,
I think they did an incredible job on making it look like he was. And like I said, that scene still fucking freaks me out. So, yeah, I think they did incredible. But each to their own.
I always remember the nails against the glass like that.
yeah, when you heard the nails on the glass, that's what I remembered.
And again, that was during the
When you
second
hear that,
scene, not the first scene. Yep. Yeah, he did that during the second scene, not the first.
He did it on the first because he was trying to get his attention.
No, he wasn't. He was lightly scratched against glass, but you couldn't really hear it. The second one, he was going, you could really hear it the second time when he was in the hospital.
Right, but he did do it on the first one too, just not
right, but you couldn't really hear it. So I don't think it counts.
I think they perfected it the second time and went with it, which is awesome.
Yeah.
I think that part was cool.
Oh, it was. I mean, like that's the scene that I always, when I think of Salem Law, I think of that scene, and and also when Mike jumps down into the grave, and Danny gets him, is another scene I always think about. Of course, that's where they cut it in the miniseries, right at that scene. So you actually got to see that scene twice because they ended it there and then they started with that scene again. And then, of course, and also the last scene when the master jumps up when they're killing him.
And I think at first, they went with a whisper voice with the vampires at first, and then they thought better of it and actually had them speak. Later on, because the first time the brother comes through, you hear him kind of like a loud whisper, to his brother, where you don't see his mouth speak or anything like that. So, other than that, I mean, I thought it was pretty much held up. The house is unique. I mean, I'm sure the house is no longer around because they destroyed it.
Wow, I don't think they really destroyed the house, but that'd be interesting to see if it really was there.
Took and burned it down.
Yeah, but I don't think they really burnt that house down. I think just they look like they did. I mean, I don't really know for sure. I'd have to look it up, but anyway, so is that Andy, your first impression?
Yeah, that pretty much ends my first impression.
All right, so this is definitely not the first time I've seen it. I'm not sure exactly how many times I've seen it. Probably at least 4 or 5 times, maybe more. I first saw it as a kid, so you can imagine. Kind of scared me, even though I've seen a lot of horror movies. And by the time I saw this one, I didn't see it in the theaters. I know that, so I saw it. Oh yeah, it was not theaters. So it was. So I saw it when it came out. Definitely. So I was 6 when it came out. So by that time, I'd already seen quite a few horror movies. I loved horror movies, so whether I liked them or not, I saw them. I don't know, something about this one that scared the bejeebers out of me, but I still loved it. I don't know. I always wanted them to make a sequel, and I still do. And I know there is a sequel technically, but it's crap, so I don't count it. So as far as I'm concerned, there is still no sequel. And I would like to see the continuation of Ben and what the hell is Ben and Mark's journey. That would have been cool. Maybe when they found more people and style like a resistance or something would be cool. I don't know. Whatever. They could have added on to the story for a lot of things, like TV series, whatever. But you know, I like I said, I absolutely loved it, and there's so many memorable scenes, and I love the way the vampires are made in this, and the eyes are so fucking cool. I don't care what they've done, this day and age, the eyes are still better in Salem's Lot than any vampire movie out there. And I love vampire movies, don't get me wrong. I love them all except for that sparkly one we don't talk about. But the eyes are just so awesome, and they're done so great. Um, I think the only one tiny complaint I have in the movie is the master's teeth are too close together. Like, it just, I don't know, looks weird to me.
Well,
But
believe
he
it or
definitely
not,
looks more
Nosferatu and
like,
Nosferatu the vampire.
I was just gonna say he looks more like Nosferatu than he does a typical vampire. Um, Also, you notice they didn't do the whole thing they do with Dracula and a lot of other movies where you kill the head vampire and the rest turn back. Not in this one, but hey, it's Stephen King, so what do you expect?
Well, and
the
and
fact
you
that the
you
main
can kill
character
that.
lived
You can
in Stephen King is amazing.
and you can kill the regular vampires by just sticking a cross to their forehead.
Yeah, I mean that could kill certain vampires, yeah, in certain legends. That is true. So, yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of legends for vampires in all kinds of different stories, and you know, um, everyone does it differently, you know. Um, but anyways, this movie has been my favorite horror movie since I saw it, and I like to revisit it often. It took a long time before I revisited. So last time was 5 years ago, but having a long time since between that time. I guess 5 years is relatively long or not long, depending on your point of view. But yeah, it should be something I watch every year, Halloween or something, because it's just that damn good, you know. And it's such a great movie, and I always notice something different every time I see it. It's a 3 hour movie. It's a long movie, and yeah, maybe there's a few things that could have been cut out, but it just builds the town. It builds the story around the people. It really builds up the story of the people. Like someone who comes on this podcast always complains that they don't build up people. Well, but then he also complains that movies are too long. Well, what do you want? A build up or a long movie? A short movie? You can't get both. You can't have a build up and a short movie. There's not enough time. You don't have any freaking action if you did that. The whole movie would be building up characters like, okay, we're done. We introduced everybody. Wait for the sequel for the action. That's how the movie would go. And no one would like that. So yeah. But anyways, let's go on to
I wish that
the
they would
plot of
create
the
a
movie.
game for this.
We start out. We see Ben. He's a writer, and he's coming back into town. And for some reason, he pulls over on the wrong side of the road and gets out of his Jeep. And just stares at this house. Just looking at the house, even if you're not familiar with the movie, you can just know that there's something up with that house because it's definitely creepy looking on the outside and definitely creepy on the inside. Of course, at first we don't see the inside, we don't see the outside, and he's just like staring at this house, and we see he goes into town. And he goes into a realtor's office, and Fred Willard is the realtor, and Boom Boom Bonnie's his secretary. She likes to take dictation. Anyways, so he's said he's looking for something, and looking for something furnished. He's single, no family, and he's like, I can't think of anything. He's reported about the Marston house. He actually wanted to stay there. Why, I don't know. How we want to stay the hell away from it, but anyways, and he said it was just sold, and so he recommended a bed and breakfast. I forget the name when he said the name of it, but yeah. So he recommended that, and Bonnie said, "Oh, that's a nice place." So he ends up next scene. We see him unpacking there, and he's got his typewriter, and she goes, "Oh, are you a writer?" And he says, "Yes, I am." And she's like, "Anything? What do you write?" And he goes, "No, books." And she's like, "You write anything I've read?" And he goes, "I don't know, you read books." Kind of a slightly funny scene, I think. And then she's like, "Oh, it's weird that you came because strangers don't usually come this time of year." He's like, "Oh, I'm not a stranger," and he shuts the door. You find out later that he actually was there until he was 11, and then moved away. So it's basically kind of a homecoming for him, in a way. And so then I believe I'm not going to go step by step every scene, but briefly I'm going to say, okay, we see the two boys. It's nighttime, and they're in the woods, and the smaller brother is complaining that they go into the woods. Why they have to go through the woods? And his older brother Danny was like, it's a shortcut, it's faster. And he's like, "Come on, let's go. I'm leaving." And he like takes off, and the little brother doesn't follow him. I mean, he's yelling after his brother, and then the wind is picking up. It's really zooming out there, and all of a sudden the kid turns around, and you see this dark figure behind the kid, and then it cuts scenes, and next thing you know, you find out that the kid is missing, and his brother was kind of sickish, so they don't know what's going on. Then we have a few scenes with the realtor and Mr. Stryker. The realtor and everyone is still wondering about the partner, Mr. Barlow, when he's going to show up in town. And Mr. Stryker's like, you'll all be happy when he gets here, and all this other crap, because we know that the Barlow is the master, and he's a vampire, and nobody's happy to see vampires unless they're on TV, and I am. But yeah. Yeah. So, what do you guys think of the movie so far up to this point?
Well, I do
Dave?
think it's kind of interesting how we have a horror fan, a young kid who's like very interested in like all these like monster
We haven't
movies
gotten to them
and
yet.
vampires.
We haven't gotten to them
Well,
yet.
sort of, because they were at the kids were at the boys.
Yes, they were, but they didn't
uh,
show the kids at his house. They showed the kids in the woods first.
They I don't think so, because they were told to go home after asking the boy all kinds of questions in his horror memorabilia room.
How long was the movie for you?
So the room, the movie was
Yeah.
3 hours.
Just 3 hours?
3 hours exactly.
The boys were in the room.
That's weird, because that scene was not in what I watched. And my movie was 3 hours and 3 minutes. But when you look it up online, it says 3.5 hours. So, yeah. We're missing some parts of it.
Yeah, the boys were definitely all in the one room. And then the father came in and said, "Your father called, you guys need to go home." And then they said,
Yeah, I actually remember that scene from years ago watching it, but not just watching it now. It wasn't there. That's weird. And I was watching it on my computer screen right in front of me, not on TV or anything where I might have missed it. It was right in front of me, so I definitely didn't miss it. So yeah, that's great. Well, anyways, all right. So anyway, continue what you were saying,
Yeah.
Dave.
We do have that moment. So I do think that I guess at this time, maybe it might have been like a little bit more uncommon to have so much. Maybe not. Maybe so. I did like a lot of the masks that were in his room. That the kids were like futzing around with. What's this one? It's a ghoul. What's a ghoul? That's a girl? No, that's a ghoul.
Ghoul.
What's a
She's the
ghoul?
ghoul of your
You know,
dreams.
uh, they
Bring the ghoul of your
that
dreams home to your
type of
mummy.
play. It's a kind of demon that goes and eats off of dead corpses or whatnot. That was kind of the dialogue that the boy was. So it kind of had to harken back to like the William Castle movie, Mr. Sardonicus, a little bit for me. Um, but as far as the movie begins, I mean, you got the stranger. According to the town, he's kind of a stranger because apparently nobody remembers him except for this writer. And the landlady lady, she's all curious. Why are you here at this time? Nobody normally comes and rents a room at this time. You know that type of thing. So it seems like the town is very curious as to why he's there to begin with. Even the sheriff tells the town drunk to keep an eye on him. Which Elisha Cook, he plays the town drunk. He plays in one of my favorite horror movies, The House on Haunted Hill, the original black and white movie, as a pretentious, nervous type. And he still plays that pretentious, nervous type here. In fact, the sheriff kind of fucks with him a little bit. Oh, he just murdered like 9 people or
Well,
15
yeah, he
people.
said it to
That's why I
the
want you to keep
drunk.
an eye on
He said to the drunk, because the drunk's like, "Oh, what did he do? Oh, he murdered. What did he say? 32 people. They're all men who were asking too many questions. What did he
Yeah, he said he murdered
The
8
look
people.
on the drunk's face was funny.
Yeah, that actor is Elisha Cook. So he's not in there that long, but I do like seeing him
He's in a
whenever he
few
shows
scenes.
up.
He's in a few scenes. He's also hanging outside the real estate office as well. In another scene.
Oh yeah, that's right. So we also have that real estate dude who kind of brokered the whole house and antique shop
Yeah,
to
Fred Willard
what is
character.
yeah and it's Mr. Barlow who is the dude's silent partner, and you never see Mr. Barlow.
Because you do see him, but it's
So
usually the
you
last
also
thing you
have
see.
the
It's usually the last thing you see once you meet him. But yeah, so
but
so anyway, we got a
you
boy
do have this
missing.
grand opening for the antique.
Yeah, he's not opening yet. He's still opening boxes, but then he says that he needs something to be picked up in Portland, Maine, and he thinks two strong men should do, and they're gonna need a truck, and of course the real estate dude says, "Oh, perfect. He can get Bonnie's husband to do it because he's got the big truck, and plus he'll be out of town, so he can screw his wife. Kill two birds with one stone, so to speak. So then we see the husband, Cully, Carl, if you're American, Cully, I believe it's Swedish. I know it's Swedish, but I don't know what the other uses the name Cully, but I know Swedish does because I have an uncle Cully, Carl, but some people call him Cully. But anyways, he's over there talking to Mike, saying you want to earn $50, and at that time in '79, $50 was a good amount of money. And then he's like, well, it's going to be for two of you, and then two people. He's like, well, what about you? And he's like, oh, I got something else to take care of. See, he's not fooled about his wife and her boss. He knows what's going on, and he decided that he's gonna catch him in the act. And so he devises the plan to make it look like he's the one going out of town, and instead he hires Mike the gravedigger, and Mike gets Ned, the local plumber Duke guy, to help him out. And they go to get the package, and of course Ned's like, wow, this is really, really cold, like abnormally cold, and he wants to open it up to see what's inside. Mike just wants to hurry up and get it out, get it dropped off, and be done with it,
Yeah, he just wants to finish the
now,
job.
part of the instructions were they were supposed to, they had 4 padlocks with the keys, and they were supposed to padlock the cellar, the cellar down, and the I don't know, there was a shed, I think they said, or it was supposed to. They heard noise up in the house. No one was supposed to be there, so they just got freaked out, and they started leaving. Like, oh, we forgot the locks, and they're like, just throw them down in the cellar. So they threw the locks with the keys down into the cellar and just closed the cellar thing, and they took off. Yeah, that was fun scene.
And shortly after. Shortly after the antique dealer dude actually shows up and realizes all that, and he goes into that cellar, and that entire like wooden crate is like, looks like it blew up.
Well, before he does that, he opens up the trunk and picks out the body of a boy wrapped up in tape. You can definitely tell it's a body. And then he unwraps the body, just in case you didn't realize it was the kid. He untapes it and unwraps it, and then you see the kid there, laying in the tape. And then he like smooths him up.
I like this part. I like this part because he carries it like it's a piece of meat, like from a butcher factory, and unwraps it like it's a piece of fish or some shit like that. And that's what's a little bit more creepy about it.
And then when it opens up to reveal the kid, it's pretty friggin' messed up. It's a messed up scene. These days, I don't think it would fly. I don't think they would do something like that these days. They'd be scared to. But so we had that awesome scene. Then of course we have our main character Ben. He meets the teacher, the arts teacher. She's drawing in the grass, and she has a book laying on the ground. And he comes over, and he's like, that's not a good way to treat the book. And she kind of looks at the back of the book and looks at him, and looks at the back of the book and looks at him and goes, that is you. She's kind of excited to see that, here's the author of the book. And he's like, it's not a good way to treat a book, even if it's not a greatly written book. And then she's like, why did you name it this? And he's like, well, did you read the book? And she's like, oh, actually, I haven't read it all. And he's like, well, actually, I just started. He's like, well, you don't have to read it. And she goes, well, I actually got it because I read your other book. And he's like, which one? And she's couldn't remember the name of it. Now, this is an interesting fact a little bit later in the movie. When they were checking him out, the deputy the deputy went and said that, oh, he's a writer, he's written 2 books. Well, at his conversation with her, he asked which book she had read, therefore meaning he's written more than 2 books. Because because that's what he hinted out to, but they said he'd only written 2. So a little bit of discrepancy there.
Which one?
yeah, so a little bit of discrepancy there. Of course, I actually remember her name for some reason. She's one of the few people I remember their name, Susan. As soon as I saw her, I was like, oh, Susan, played by Bonnie Bedell. And we, they, he immediately asked her out, and she kind of plays a little coy and asks about, last I knew you were married and no children. He's like, are you still married with no children? And he says that his wife passed away a couple of years ago in a tragic car accident, and he still has no kids. And then he says, you didn't answer my question. She's like, plays coy again. What question is that? He's like, will you go out with me? Making him ask again. And she's like, yeah. Then she immediately says yes. So that was a cute little exchange between them. And then so a few things happen. Let's skip up to the next death. We see this is actually the split of the movie. If you're watching the miniseries back in the day, this is where they split it. When Mike jumps down into the grave, and everyone's going, "Why the hell is he jumping down there?" He starts wiping off the dirt on the thing, and a coffin, and the coffin he opens the coffin up, and there's Danny with his eyes, and then he opens his eyes and he pops up, and this is where they stop it. And of course, next week they start it back up at the same spot. I've watched the miniseries way more times than I've seen it as a movie. I've only seen it as a movie twice. I've seen it as a miniseries all the other times, and so you get to actually see that scene twice, and that's a scary scene, I think. Then of course you see Mike later, and he's kind of like wobbling around, like kind of like he's drunk, but he's not drunk, he's just weak, of course, because his blood was drained out of him. They did a little more of a thing where you're not killed right away by a vampire bite. It takes time. With Dracula, it's like 3 visits. With this, it was only like 2 visits. Lots of them, especially nowadays, vampire movies, it's like 1 bite, they're dead, and then they're vampire. There's like, they don't even bury them anymore. Whereas in these and with Dracula, they used to bury the people, and then they would come back after they were buried. So we also, I'm sorry, I skipped a freaking scene. I skipped my favorite scary scene where the little boy comes back, and he's floating outside Danny's window, and he's lightly scratching it. You can't really hear it, but he's lightly scratching at it, and he wants to be let in. And his brother, mesmerized by him, lets him in. And we assume he gets bitten there, because then next thing you know, he's in the hospital. And then the brother comes and visits him again. This time we hear him scratching at the windows, and he's like saying, "Danny, let me in. Danny, invite me in. Let me in." And Danny lets him in, and then we actually see him open his mouth up to the fangs and come down towards his neck. So that's how. So then Danny dies, and they're still trying to figure out how he died. Of course, they don't know the little brother has died at this point yet. They just know that he's missing. They presume he's probably dead, but they don't know for a fact. They never do find out for a fact either way, because things go to hell pretty quick into the second half. But yeah, so then we have the gravedigger, and he jumps down into Danny's grave, and Danny gets him. So now we have 3 vampires already. So, 3 and the master. So we technically have 4 vampires. So just like they said, it's like those pyramid schemes. You get 1, and 1 gets 2, and 2 gets 4, and 4 gets 8, and 8 gets 16. Just like that, pyramid scheme, vampire style.
Just
and this
like
pyramid
that.
scheme, really bites. And it kind of sucks too.
Yes, it does.
Puns intended. So, anyways, now we're into the second half, and Now, who is it? Some point, Susan goes to Boston for a job interview. She's going to stay with friends. She actually asked him to go with, but he's like, I can't. I got things to do here. And she's like, gave him the number, and she goes off there. And while she's gone, Ned, I guess the guy she was kind of seeing, but he like did something to her that pissed her off, and she's, I guess, one time she said she loved him, but that was ages ago. So he's not over her, but she's over him, and so he beats the heck out of Ben, just for having the audacity to go after his girl. So he puts him in the hospital, and her dad, of course, and him kind of been friends, and he visited him. He says, you got beat up a little bit here. And I think, isn't it, yeah, this is where he tells the doctor, he asked the doctor what he thought about what him and the teacher said to him, because they told him about vampires. Because it was the teacher, the first one to figure it out. And because Mike, the gravedigger, was his friend and roommate, and he thinks that he's gonna be he's dying, and he's turning into a vampire, and he's right. And after that, we see the scene where what you were talking about, when he uses the cross against Mike. Mike kept saying, "Look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me." And he's showing his fangs and his eyes and everything. And he's like, kid telling him to look at him. And he's like, "No, no." And then he puts the cross up, and Mike's like backing up, putting his arms in front of his eyes because he doesn't want to see the cross. And he's like, "You gone?" And he like falls out the window, and then the teacher looks out the window and doesn't see him. Like you said, that scene. Then Ben finds out that that he had a heart attack right after that happened, and he's in the intensive care unit in the hospital. So now we have three dead, and another one in the hospital intensive care unit. Now other people, the husband gets his shotgun. He goes in, busts through the door when his wife is with her boss, Fred Will's character, and he points his shotgun at him. And he's like, she's like, "Oh, he came in. He was trying to rape me." And he's like, "Oh, I'll take care of this rapist." And the guy's like, "You can't kill me. It's a mistake. You'll go to prison." And he's like, "I won't go to prison for trying to kill someone that's trying to rape my wife." And that's a lie. She invited me over. And he points the gun at her. He's like, "You invited him over? You did that?" And and she's like, "No, I didn't. I swear." And he came over and raped me, and the girl's just like, "It'll be shame for you to go to jail on what's a lie." And he's like, "Well, we're gonna go downstairs and we're gonna have a man-to-man talk, and you stay here." Says to his wife, and he brings him downstairs, and he has a whole the end of his gun, and he holds it. And he's like, he cocks the gun, double-barreled, and he's like, "Yeah, hold it right there, hold it steady. Now point it at your face, point it, yeah, right there, yeah, hold it steady. Hold it, hold it steady. Don't take it, hold it steady." Trying to rattle him, and then he's like, "Hold it up there." And then he acts like he's going to shoot. He pulls the trigger, and the realtor just jumps back against the wall and realizes he's not dead, and just flies out the house, just wearing his underwear. And then he meets the master, and so he's the next one gone. He gets found by Ben and Susan while they were out kissing and necking and stuff by a lake. They heard two vehicles, one was a car or a truck, and then another car. And they go and look, and they find the realtor there dead, half naked and dead. And they call the sheriff and the constable, and he comes in and he's like questioning them. And of course, he tells Ben not to leave town because he's new, so obviously he's a suspect. And of course, they find a little bit of black fabric. So who always wears black suits is Mr. Stryker. So the constable goes in and goes to him, and asks him questions. And basically, he wants to see the suits. And he's like, "Am I under suspicion?" Yes. And then he kind of leaves. Doesn't say anything more. What do you guys think of the movie so far?
What do you think, Tammy?
Well, yeah, everybody is getting bit, and so
Okay, well, I think that once it gets to like the middle of the movie, then it starts
Yeah,
to like
compound.
definitely go down that roller coaster of okay, everybody's dying in town, and everybody thinks it's this version of this influenza or whatever the fuck they're calling it.
Yeah.
I forget get exactly what they're calling it, but pneumonia, something like that.
No, it wasn't pneumonia.
I thought that they said that one kid was anemic.
No, he asked if he was anemic, and no, but they didn't think it was that. No, they thought it was Rutumi. Can't think of the word. It begins with a Rheut. Root something. Is the word. I can't think of it. But yeah, so that's what the doctor thinks it is. Of course, he doesn't have any expertise in vampires. um, so yeah. Also, we have at some point Danny kept visiting his mom, and she ends up dying, and turned into a vampire. And this point where the doctor finally realizes it's true, it is vampires and everything, and him and Ben go to where she's at, and Ben is sitting in the room with the body, and Mike, the doctor, is at home checking on his wife and daughter, who are at home, and Ben yells, "Mike, Mike!" As the body is stirring, and the body comes up, and he starts saying, he starts blessing the wooden cross he made out of two sticks. He made a cross, and he started blessing it. And he's saying, "Though I walk through the valley of shadow of death, I fear no evil." That saying there from the Bible. It's a great scene, great place to put that verse. Absolutely great. And she comes at him, and he basically burns her with the cross, with the wooden cross. And it's funny how I think the scene was after the scene where we had the priest lose faith in his cross and gets killed by the master. So he lost faith facing the master, and he was a priest, because the master just grabbed the cross and threw it on the ground. The priest had actually sacrificed himself to save the boy. So that was good. And of course, the boy turned.
Oh yeah,
This was after his parents were killed,
that
and
was a good scene.
the boy turned. I will kill you. So he didn't quite kill him, but he was definitely had a hand in killing him. So he was definitely there. So we have Mark's parents are dead. The priest gets killed, and loses his faith and gets killed. Ben keeps his faith and kills the vampire. And they're like, we gotta go to town. This is I think this is where we see the constable is packing up his shit, his wife, his kid. Everything is in their station wagon, and they're going. And Ben pulls up. He's like, "Oh, you're just He's like, "Where are you going?" Like, "South Carolina." So they say, "You're just taking off. You're just running scared. This place is run by vampires." Like, "I don't know what it is. I ain't sticking around." And he's like, "You're gonna stay fine." He's like, "Come here, come here." I thought he was gonna make him a sheriff or something, but he just hands him the guns, and maybe this will be useful to you. And I'm thinking at the time, yeah, it'll help against Stryker at least, which he does. So we have that.
That would have made it a little bit more of a western.
And then we have another scene. I'm not sure why Susan is at the Marsden house, but she's at the Marsden house and she watches Mark go in. So she decides to follow him And of course, Mark's there because he wants to kill the master because the master killed his parents. That's his
I think
14 or
Susan
15-year
is
old
there
mind
because
thinking
she.
that he can kill this master because the master killed his parents and he needs to kill him. So he goes in and she follows in. Unfortunately, they get split up. She gets Stryker catches her and says, "I'm going to bring you to the master." We don't ever see exactly what happened with her, except that she does get turned into a vampire. But we don't see anything of how it happened or anything. He got tied up, but if you remember earlier in the scenes, besides loving monsters and stuff, he was into practical magic, and he could escape from handcuffs and rope. So he actually, even though it was very well nodded, a Boy Scout would be happy. He still managed to get out of it, and he runs out of the house just as Ben and Mike are getting there.
Yeah, I
Another
thought
Mike.
it was.
Uh,
I thought it
what?
was interesting that they gave him that talent. I thought it was interesting that they gave him that talent,
Yeah, I thought
just
it was
so that he
interesting
could
too. I thought it
like
was
get out
interesting
of
too.
that shit later on.
Yeah. As soon as he got tied, I saw him tied up. I'm like, oh yeah, he's just gonna get out of that. And it wasn't because I've seen him before, because it's just things slip your memory, Um, so I mean, maybe it was there somewhere, but yeah. So pretty much we're at the climax now, and we say at one point, we do hear. I just want to mention real quick. Cully definitely his wife. We don't see it, but we hear her scream, and then later on they're in a vehicle, and presumably, I guess they're leaving. I think they might be leaving town, but she's got a black eye, so yeah. I don't believe in hitting women. I don't know that situation, if that was right to do or not to do. She was definitely in the wrong, but two wrongs don't make a right. So, anyways, so that's what happened. And she didn't leave
Nope.
him or anything. She just stayed. Um, so, anyways, so this is pretty much the climax. They get into the house. They're both looking for Susan. The kid, of course, comes back into the house because he's told to run away, and the kid doesn't listen, and almost got himself shot by Ben. And then finally Ben's like, "Fine, if you don't leave, then you're gonna
Yeah.
help me." And then, of course, they hear a screaming upstairs. Now Stryker's human, but obviously he's been granted some kind of a little bit extra powers, because he picks up the doctor by his arms straight up off the ground, brings them all the way to the other end, and pushes them into the antlers of the dead animals that are hanging on the wall, and kills him. And you hear the scream,
I
and
think
they
that's
go
one
to
of my favorite scenes.
yeah, it's a great scene. They go up the stairs, and Stryker's coming down with he grabs like a piece of the staircase, and holds it wielding it like a bat, and he's coming down the stairs, and I'm like, shoot him! And finally he starts shooting him. He shoots him a total of 5 times before he finally drops the bat like piece of banister and falls over dead. But yeah, he took 5 bullets to the chest. Of course, I'm yelling, "Shoot him in the head!" And Ben's a pretty damn good shot. I don't know where he learned to shoot, but yeah, he got him all 5 times. 5 out of the 6 shots, 6 bullets. He never did fire the 6th bullet, though. Assuming there were 6 bullets, usually there is, because it's a 6-shooter. And of course, they end up going to the basement, and they're looking around for the master's coffin. And the kid knows that there's like a door padlocked, and he felt it, and it's super cold. He's like, over here, and he's like, of course, the root cellar. And he breaks the lock off the cellar, and they look in, and here's a giant coffin with all these vampires laying around. The master gets the coffin, everybody else gets the floor. She's like, we gotta get him out of here. We gotta get him out of here. So he starts pulling the coffin out. The kid finally has to push it out, and the kid gets out, and they finally get open, and the kid's over. Gets pushed. He pushes the kid out of the way because he's like staring at his eyes, And he's like, "Don't look at him," and pushes the kid away and kind of falls back towards the open door. And then you see the master kind of pop up, and he pushes him back down. He shoves the stick into him, and then he grabs his hammer and he's like pounding the stake into the master, and the master's trying to grab him and everything and fight back, and I kept thinking, look, turn around, because finally, as the lamp kept swaying back and forth, you see it sway over, and you see these two bodies, obviously Ned and Mike, the gravedigger Mike, climbing towards the kid, crawling towards the kid as vampires, and finally he turns and he sees them, and he quickly shuts the door, and they're finally reaching the door at that point. So they're trying to get through. He's pushing it. He finally gets a screwdriver stuck in the door, so kind of locking it. And the headmaster is dead at this point, and he's like, get out of here. And they get out of the house, and we see them dropping gasoline all over. And then Ben likes it. And then they take off, and then we go back to basically where the movie started, which was 2 months later. And they're in a church getting holy water, and
2 years.
Ben looks down and sees his vial of holy water, and it's shining bright. He's like, they found us again. And he's like, it's time to go deeper, and he's like, not yet. And then we've continued that scene where he goes to his room, and there's his girlfriend. She's laying on the bed. Now it's weird. She had the vampire eyes, but other than that, she looks sexy as hell. Super sexy. Like, she was really sexy. The other vampires look scary, but she looks sexy. Even with the fangs, I mean, I don't know. I dig that. So I think she looked really sexy as a vampire. She had those eyes, and she's like, kiss me. He goes like he's going to kiss her, but of course he kisses her with the edge of the wooden stake to the heart. So then they decide they're going to move on, and that's where we end it. So I guess now we can talk about production. Tammy, what do you think about production?
I thought they did a pretty good job for the timing. There wasn't, like you said about the teeth could have been aligned a little bit better.
On the master, yeah. I mean, the rest of the people were great. Just on
But
the master was weird.
The eyes were great. There wasn't really much room for special effects in it. It was done pretty much, this is it, So I thought they did pretty good.
I as well thought that they did pretty good. And I also like the fact that this is all practical effects. Because practical effects always look good. No matter.
Oh yeah, it was incredible. I mean, I would hold it. I would hold it up to movies today. I mean, it was incredibly done. It was just so awesomely done. But go ahead, Dave. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
But I also like the area location of the town. I like the look of the house on the outside and the inside. There's enough mystique to keep it looking creepy. You know what I mean? And then once you actually get to see the inside of the place, it looks as decrepit as all hell. When the antiques dealer is actually saying, "Oh, it just needs a lot of work," he hasn't done any work. He's just let it ferment. You know what I mean? So.
Yep. Are you done with the?
I think we're on to.
I haven't said my thoughts on the production. Thank you.
Go ahead.
My thoughts on the production are they're absolutely incredible. as I said, and they hold up to today's standards, I think. And yeah, I mean, everything in it was great. I mean, yeah, they didn't actually show like actual biting, but you know, obviously that would have been a little bit more. And this was a TV budget, as well as being in 1979. So they left a little bit to the imagination, but not much. I mean, they showed a lot more than a lot of other movies had. I mean, you watch like the original Dracula and stuff, you never saw anything there, or some of the others, you know. So they definitely showed a lot more, and they left a little bit to imagination, but not much at all. So yeah, I think the production is absolutely incredible, and the music. What do you think about the music, guys?
I thought the music was serviceable. What about you, Tammy?
Sorry, didn't really pay attention to the music.
I thought the music was serviceable. Let's see, who did the music anyways?
Oh yeah, it's your department.
Salem's movie. Okay, bringing it up. Okay, normally it comes up the IMDb. Okay, there it is. Oh, wrong one. There we go. Okay, so bringing it to the cast and crew. Come on. Storyline, top cast. Okay, all cast and crew. All right, music is done by one person at least. And it's done by Harry Sukman. He was the composer behind the movie Fanny from 1961. And he was the composer behind a horror movie called Someone's Watching Me. Composer behind Beyond the Bermuda Triangle, which was a TV movie from 1975. Let's see, he was composer behind the TV movie Planet Earth, which was a science fiction thing, and Genesis 2, another science fiction TV movie, and at least behind 31 episodes of Bonanza. So, some of the things he was involved with. So, what did you think about the music, Kroll?
Oh, I thought it was great. It was fitting for the movie. You know, it's kind of the background music that you don't really hear unless you're kind of listening for or whatever. But you definitely know it's there in certain spots. Just like a lot of old movies, they would do that. They would just you know, they would play the music to the scenes that was happening, and they did a very good job on that in this movie as well. So yeah, that's my thoughts on music. So why don't we go into favorite scenes and characters. Let's start with you, Dave. What's your favorite scene and favorite characters?
I actually have a couple. I can't just narrow it down to one. I mean, I do like when the children float around the window. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it looks a little corny now, but I still like it. I like corny. But I do like the seeing Joffrey Lewis play a vampire. It's definitely
Who's Jeffrey Lewis?
entertaining when he starts to.
Who's Jeffrey Lewis? What character did he play?
He's the Grave dude.
Mike's
He
the
played
Gravedigger. Okay.
the Grave. Yeah. When he turns into a vampire, I told you. When we first started, he's Juliette Lewis's father. He plays the graveyard dude. So I liked when he was speaking to the old man, and even though I don't like the fact that the writer's professor got a heart attack because of it.
I knew that.
I
saw
still
that coming.
like that scene. But I also like the part where you can just make a cross out of popsicle sticks and give it a blessing, and there you go. You can kill a vampire. You know, for some
in
reason,
this version they
as
can.
corny as
Again,
that
there's a bunch
sounds,
of different versions.
as corny as that sounds, especially in today's vampirology, that shit will not fly in today's vampire world. uh,
Yeah, well, in today's vampire world,
it,
you got sparkling vampires. Enough said.
So,
Fucking sparkling vampires.
but I also like the priest scene where dude's standing in the doorway, and he's like, would you trade your life for your faith? You know, that whole that whole moment there when Nosferatu basically is
your life for the kid's life, and
Mr.
your faith
Barlow.
against his faith, and blah blah blah.
Yeah. So, and I do like the basically final scenes where he basically is pounding the stake into to the master vampire, and the other vampires are trying to reach the kid, and the kid's not really paying fucking attention, and he finally closes the door and sticks a screwdriver in the fucking thing, and dude's still pounding that stake. I mean, in the Hammer films, all it took was just one pound, one big ass pound, dink, you know. And here he kept having to pound the sucker in. It was like it took him forever to just. What was he? A limp noodle or some shit like that? He couldn't just pound it once and boom, he's dead. They had to make it tough for him to kill this.
He probably had a very strong sternum. He was the master after all. We don't even know how many. I mean, considering how he looked, he's probably fucking 10 centuries old at least. So,
but
yeah.
Those are my favorites.
All right, Tammy, what about you? What's your favorite characters, Dave?
Dave, what's your favorite character?
Oh God, I think it's the antique dealer,
Mr. Stryker.
Yes, Mr. Stryker is my favorite.
Okay. All right, and Tammy, what about you? Your favorite scenes in
he was so British.
Well, my favorite
plays a good bad character.
My favorite character is the writer.
Ben.
He's just trying so hard to put this all together and to fix things, And favorite scenes. I like the two scenes with the kid outside the window. I thought those were neat.
3 scenes. Two with the little brother, and then Danny did it. Danny did visit Mark.
So I don't know. There's a whole bunch of them I like, but those two are the main ones.
Okay. And me myself, yeah, I mean, all the scenes. There's so many incredible scenes, but the hospital, the little brother. I don't know why can't remember his name, but the little brother at the window and then scratching on the windowsill and saying, let me in and let me in. That is the most that scene I always think about when I think of Salem Blood. That and when Gravedigger Mike jumps in the grave and the old brother Danny gets him, and then of course the end scene when they're killing the master and all the other vampires are about to get the kid, and I'm like, turn around, turn around, turn around, those are definitely I have to say my three favorites because those I remember more than any other scenes. But I do want to point out the scene with Cully and the shotgun was very great. I mean, he had no intention of killing him, but he scared the shit out of him, and he deserved it. That was 100% deserved. And even if he had punched him out, he probably would have deserved it. Now, his wife, I'm not going to get into that. But yeah, that scene where he has a shotgun, he hold it, and then acts like he shoots him, and that scene was just awesome, absolutely incredibly awesome. And the great thing is he could the guy ended up dead right after, but he already had a solid alibi. He was out of town. Yeah, so he had it set up like he was gonna kill him. I think at some point he probably was gonna kill him, and then thought better of it and didn't load the gun. But yeah, it was great. That scene was just really fucking great. And Fred Willow's character really got what he deserved. Definitely. So I just had to point that out. And as far as characters go, yeah, I 100% agree, Ben. And I can't leave Mark out. Mark was such a great kid. I mean, he knew exactly what was going on the second he saw his friend at the window. He realized he was a vampire, and he was under his spell for like a minute, and then he got out of it and grabbed the cross, and the kid, and plus his magic trick and stuff, and yeah, the kid was good. I mean, he was really smart, and yeah, he was a great character. Too bad we didn't get to see more of him in the movie. Yeah, I mean, I love Susan, but yeah, she didn't. She was just kind of more eye candy, and I mean, she's a kind of cool character. But yeah, I'd have to go with Ben and Mark as my two favorite characters. Strike was a great villain, but yeah, not our favorite character. So I guess we're done with our movie this week. Dave, take it away.
Alrighty. Well, thank you, Ron, for taking us through that film. It was a delight to rewatch again. And we'll be back next week to talk about Starman. So that is Tammy's choice. So
no, he's not a superhero.
Everyone who's followed along, let us know down in the comments what you thought of our discussion. Like, share, and subscribe, and just go out and watch the film. I know it's long for today's standards, but it is worth a watch. So please do. But in any case, everyone say good night.
Good night.
Good day.